My ex-wife learned the hard way to not ignore a court summons. Update. Having lost the custody fight, V is now relocating to New Hampshire to live with her former Maine boyfriend, now husband-5. To this day, it amuses me that he has the same first name as the FB lover from CA stated in my first article. When I speak about them, I always refer to them as Paul-1 and Paul-2. Yes, I'm easily entertained. The situation. V and I had an email exchange about a month after the custody hearing at which I was granted full physical custody of Rebecca, in which we agreed that I would go to her apartment and take Rebecca's captain's bed and some of Rebecca's belongings the day before movers arrived to pack up Voldemort's stuff. She was going 7 to 5 miles away to central New Hampshire, having burnt down almost every bridge in the region. Sam, who drives a truck, thankfully volunteered to come along and assist as well as be a witness. So we arrive at 7:20 p.m. and knock on the door. V unlocks the door after a slight delay, her iPhone clamped to her ear. She mumbles something sullenly about her things being upstairs and then walks off to her second-floor bedroom, weaving and saying something that made me pause and consider. I wasn't sure what it was, but I remember thinking, I really can't walk in here without a witness. I poke my head out the door. Come on, Sam. You must accompany me inside the room. So we enter. Oh my God. It's a hint. It's not dirty, but it's really cluttered. V has vanished into her chamber, complete with shutting the door, so I have to walk a little to locate Rebecca's room. Not only is she in the midst of packing, but there is trash everywhere. Dust, cobwebs, tracked in filth, dirty dishes, empty wine boxes, and dried dog food were all strewn around and stomped on. I could tell it was a great location. A large open living space with a balcony above it, as well as beautiful woodwork, exposed beams, and inset shelving the walls. On the hearth, an ancient wood stove is glowing. There's a lot of promise here, but it's still a tip. So Sam and I begin collecting Rebecca's belongings and transporting some of them to the vehicle. I realize we'll need an Allen wrench to disassemble the bed, so I walk out to the vehicle and come back in. She had returned to the living area during the gap in action, but as we mounted the stairs, she walked immediately back into her bedroom, phone still plastered to her ear. It takes some time, but we've eventually dismantled the bed and relocated the most of Rebecca's belongings to the front yard. Without discussing anything, it's evident that Sam and I both agreed to move the items on the front lawn and worry about loading the cars when we're totally out of the home. It's at this moment that things start to become strange. Sam is on the second-to-last load when V appears from her bedroom door, looks out from the balcony and asks, "Why are you moving items out of my house?" Sam walks out of the home, dropping what he's holding. He was immediately aware of what was going on. "You agreed through email that we would take Rebecca's bed tonight," I add as I exit Rebecca's room, and V plainly didn't notice I was still there. "Is that Rebecca's stuff?" she asks, surprised. "Naturally it is. You said that her belongings were in her room." "Fine." She returns to her bedroom. I walk outdoors with what I'm holding. As Sam puts it, "That's not right, dude. We must contact the cops." "You are completely correct." I could tell Sam was expecting me to resist, and he did a double take when he realized he wouldn't have to persuade me. "You're on a recorded line, Crowesville Police Department. My name is Jack Crowe, and I reside at 321 Main Street in Crowesville." While I'm on the phone with the cops, I see V approaching the door, opening it, and growing irritated when she learns I'm on the phone with the cops. By the time I complete my explanation, she has slammed the door and is pacing around the living room, yelling into her phone. I'm at my ex-apartment, wife's getting some of my daughter's belongings as we agreed via email, and as I'm getting the last of the stuff out of the house, she suddenly asks, "Why are you taking stuff out of my house?" So in order to protect all parties, I'm asking that a police officer come by to verify with MS Crow that she agreed to this and that she is fine with what we have removed from the house. An officer will be there shortly, Mr. Crow. Sam is standing next to me, shaking his head, while I wait for the cop to come, resting casually on the front of Sam's vehicle. I'm going to phone Marie and inform her of the situation. Around this time, V slams open the front door, saying something about not having acquired all of Rebecca's belongings, and proceeds to drop another wash basket stacked full with clothing and other things on the front step before disappearing back inside. Pop goes the weasel. I begin to whistle. The majority of the items we moved are still on the front yard. We'll leave it at that. After roughly 5 minutes, a police officer arrives. As he steps out of the police SUV, I approach him with caution, my arm extended to shake his hand with my right. Good evening, officer. My name is Jack Crow. Good evening, officer. My name is Jack Crow. Good evening, Mr. Crow and Ollie Johnson, the narrator says. We shake each other's hands. I give him a brief overview of the situation, and he acknowledges that I made the right decision in contacting him and that he will speak with thee. He'll be up there for about 2 minutes before he comes back down. It seems that you are prepared to go. In a brief dialogue with him, we expressed our regret for having to engage him, and he responded by saying, in this case, you made the right choice. Getting into problems with a woman in Massachusetts when you have anything between your legs is a recipe for disaster. After that, I developed a strong like for him. He asks, how much more is there in the house? As we begin to put the last goods into the truck. The only item that is out here right now is that last wash basket on the porch that MS Crow brought out while we waited for you. That's fantastic. I'm not able to remain up all night. If you're ready, I'll go, but wait, what's that you said? Can you tell me what it is? I thought I saw a phone somewhere in there. With his attention drawn to the front porch laundry basket, he says, I take a step closer to the basket. There's also an iPhone on top of it all. When I pick it up, it reminds me of Rebecca's old iPhone 4 in appearance. It's an old phone that belonged to my daughter. I'll simply pack it up and bring it with us. I take the basket to my car and put it in the back seat of the vehicle. The phone rings just as I'm about to walk away from it. V's house phone is ringing, and it is an incoming call. I've realized that it's V's phone. I take it and respond to it. Hello. Click. I take a look at the front of the car. When you unlock your phone, you'll see a text from Paul #2 asking, is he gone yet? Yes, that is correct. That is her phone. I made a clerical error, officer. The phone is ringing in MS Crow's office. If it's possible, could you kindly return it to her? He takes it from me, passes it back to V at the front door, and walks down the hall to meet us there. You're still okay to go, so don't worry about it. I'm getting out of here right now. I'd like it if you could come back in 15 to 20 minutes, and if we're still here, you may want to drive in and have a look at us. That's fantastic. Take care of yourself, you too. In less than 5 minutes after he drives away, and while we're still loading goods, V leaps out of the front door with her phone glued to her ear once again. Does the officer still exist? No. Bring him back, the narrator says. Why? I'd want to have him back in my life. Find a way to get him. She then returns to her room. It seems to me that I should inform her that if she wants the officer back, she should call for him. However, that small voice in my head says, you call. So I phone Crowsville's finest once again and request that Officer Johnson come to the spot where the incident occurred. Sam and I reassume our positions at the front of the truck for the second time. It's for this reason that I didn't want Rebecca to come over here tonight. Thank you for calling. A few minutes later, Officer Johnson arrives on the scene. Officer Johnson, it's been a long time since we've seen one another. Hello, Officer Johnson. It's been a long time since we've seen one another. He greets me with a kind grin. She merely came out the front door a little time after you left, begging that the police be sent, you recall. I'm going to see what she's looking for. He comes up to V and hands her phone to her. V accepts. He chats with us for a few minutes, then hangs up the phone and speaks with V for another 20 seconds before returning to the conversation. I'm perplexed when I look at him. There's no need to be concerned, guys. You're still in good shape. But you can count on me to stick around until you're done. I continue to lift my brows in his direction. We discussed how she wanted to accuse you of trying to take her phone, but I reminded her that I was the one who saw it in the basket you hadn't yet touched, and you were the one who requested that I bring it back to her. Her companion inquired as to whether you could be made to wait till Sunday, but I said, no, they've got 3 more things to load before they go, and she agreed. Just get it done, lads. We're all ready to go back home to where it's nice and comfortable. We finished up, exchanged handshakes, and walked out of the building.